I just sent you his number one and done.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Des Moines County Board of Supervisors, Tuesday, November 19th, 2024. We already have a change to the tentative agenda. Exigent circumstances, apparently there's a recount has been ordered by the state, or I assume this is for the Bohannon Miller Meeks
Correct.
race.
Yep.
It's been ordered by the state, and before that happens, the Board of Supervisors has to pass a resolution authorizing said recount. So we did not have this information in time enough to get it on the agenda, but it's on the agenda now.
Thank you.
Are there any other changes to the agenda?
I have none.
Okay, then we have a new agenda. Okay. Meet with department heads and elected officials. Sarah Doty, Des Moines County Auditor.
Good morning. As you just said, there's a recount that was called, so I have a meeting at 2 o'clock today. Hopefully I can find out some more information on when we can start getting that one taken care of. So that's on the radar. Still trying to clean things up from the election day and get things wrapped up. Going into budget season, so it's busy. Nothing new to report other than that.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Kevin Glendenning, Des Moines County Sheriff.
Good morning. Law enforcement side, we're busy, but managing, everything's going well there. We did have a couple, I'll say this year was a busy year for deer accidents. I think we talked a little bit about that last week. You can see the highs and lows of it when you look at years past, but this was definitely a busy year. We had 2 squads that actually hit deer. I guess the only positive side of that is they're both end-of-life vehicles, so they were scheduled for replacement anyway, but both of them ended up being totaled out, or will be totaled out. So at the jail, we're finding some breathing room. We have 93. We're 26 out of county. That'll come down today. We're moving about 4 back. And then we have about 8 or 9 on the list, 5 waiting to go to the halfway house or residential facility, 3 on the prison list, and then 2 we're trying to find placement for treatment. So about 10 that we could get rid of right now, and we're down to 93, so we're glad to see that moving in that direction.
Me too.
Yes.
Thank you, Sheriff. Krista Pogemiller, Local Health.
Good morning. We're also keeping busy. We still have flu vaccine available for anyone that wants to get their flu shot, but nothing else to report.
Thank you, Krista. Sheriff Lassiter, Land Use.
Well, keeping busy overall, but one significant accomplishment as of about a half hour ago, every one of the subdivisions that the board has approved has now been recorded. So I think for the first time since I've been involved with this, it's a complete clean slate, just waiting for the next one to come in. So it's nice to have all that back. I'll enjoy the moment while I can.
Enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
Thank you, Natalie.
I know it's coming.
Thank you, Sheriff. Chris Reed, Des Moines County Conservation Director.
Not a lot to discuss today. I guess had we been on our toes, we could have put together a kite flying program through our nature center or something. It's a little breezy out there, but otherwise not. We're just kind of cranking along doing our thing. Looking forward to the budget meeting today.
Thank you. Shannon Prado, Des Moines County Emergency Management Coordinator.
Good morning, everyone. I don't have anything exciting to add. I've just been plugging away kind of like everyone else. So.
Thank you, Shannon. Angie Vaughn, Safety Director.
Good morning. Same thing, just keeping busy, but nothing really new to report.
Thank you, Angie. Natalie Steffner, Des Moines County Recorder.
Good morning. I'll add to that, just nothing new to report at this time.
Well, that's good. No crises, but I haven't gotten to Brian yet.
Exactly.
Ryan Carter, Des Moines County Engineer.
I hope we don't have any crises at the moment, but we did officially open Upper Flint Road, the bridge, so thank you to a ton of people that were patient with that. Some people
I think actually some of the locals liked it because they didn't have much traffic, but there were a whole lot of people that it was very inconvenient for. It took longer than I certainly ever dreamed. But, I mean, they were to liquidated damages, and that's why you use that method to try to motivate them. But either way, it is open. There is a little bit more work to be done. They'll do it under traffic, so they'll probably see some contractors there again at some point. A little bit more dirt work. The rain just caught us. They got enough done to get the bridge open, but not enough to be quite complete. So, same thing, there's just a little bit more stuff to do on 99 also, but it's gonna have to dry out now, as everybody knows, so we'll just see how that timing goes and see if we can get that stuff squeezed in yet this year or not by the contractor. But the road's open, and that's the important part. I think, drove across it, seems to ride really nice, and that wraps that road up, which I'm happy to say. So that route took us a long time, and but it was worth the wait. So, and that was ARPA dollars, so that's actually a credit to the board. Both that one and Highway 99, anybody that does a lot of heavy hauling, whether you're agriculture or commercial or anything across there, and there is a lot of truck traffic through both of those. Both those bridges, we did not have the money in any funding in any direction to do those bridges. So those were, neither one of them were posted. The 99 bridge was close to being posted, and the Upper Flint Bridge was not too far behind it.
I think the credit should go to the US taxpayers that are gonna end up paying taxes to pay off the bonds.
Forever. Yeah, which
It's
is
the federal government.
kind of a sad way to do it, but either way, we put them into bridges, and hopefully those things will service the public, and they'll be able to use them for 70 to 100 years, and hopefully we made a good long-term investment, so. Anyway, want to mention that, we are heading towards winter, although, our main crews haven't slowed down much. If anything, we've almost added to the list, which is the wrong thing to be doing this time of year, but, we did do some concrete patching out on Seven Ponds Road a couple weeks. I'm gonna give the guys credit because we got caught in a couple rainstorms that weren't supposed to happen that day. So they got to pour some concrete in the rain, but that's done, and we had a couple areas where the edge was dropping away, and we're gonna do an asphalt job out there next summer, and we want to stabilize it this year. Try to stabilize it this year, so next year when they mill and fill through there, that it's in as good a shape as possible, I guess, for a road. So they did that. Today, if you drive through Middletown, Jim, we're gonna be doing a little bit of concrete removal out there, maybe today and tomorrow. I don't know how long it'll take the guys.
They saw him this morning when I went there.
Yep. Again, I'm gonna give my crew credit. They're pretty willing to kind of take on any random thing I throw at them, even though it's not necessarily, and we're not an urban in-town crew. That's not our cup of tea. We're dig a big hole in the middle of the county somewhere where there aren't a lot of people around. It doesn't have to be particularly beautiful kind of a thing. And but on this project, we had two choices. This is unfortunately one of those deals where we're doing that asphalt job, as you guys know, next summer. Well, part of that required us to upgrade the ramps at both the north and the south side of that intersection to the current, I don't know the proper acronym, but the current standard for handicap ramps is what we'll say. We could do it ahead of time, or we could do it as part of the project. Well, when you throw a tiny bit of concrete into the middle of a massive asphalt job, you pay, on a bid project, you pay an extraordinary unit price because it's not a regular part of the, it's not a large quantity of the overall project. So we're doing it this way to save some money in the big picture. You're not gonna notice a ton of difference. I mean, it's gonna look like new concrete, but you're gonna look at it and wonder why in the world we did it. We did it because we didn't have a choice. That's about what it comes down to. It's, in my opinion, kind of a waste of money, but we're gonna play by the rules that we have in front of us. So you'll see, I'm hoping they can get all those removals done today and they can move on to the next project. But today or tomorrow they'll keep working, and then you'll see a contractor move in there, and we won't do the concrete pouring or anything. That'll be daily construction. They'll come in and do some concrete work, and we'll get those backfilled either this year or next year, and that'll wrap those up. So that's what's going on there, in case you're wondering. Remember, if somebody asks you when you're out that direction, but in case you guys hear anything. probably be some cones up there for a while until Daly can get concrete put back in, because we gotta take some curb out too to make the elevations work, because there's credit to Devin in my office. Devin he might have spent longer on getting the design put in for that sidewalk than you'd put on some roads. You'd be shocked how small that is and how much work that is to meet the standards that they put in, because the slopes that they want you to hit and the elevations and all of that. So he put a lot of time in behind the scenes on that. So that's going on. Haven't mentioned this to you guys yet either, so I'll use some of Natalie's time while I'm at it. And so Pleasant Grove Road, I've talked about Pleasant Grove Road forever. It's a road that's got issues throughout, so we've found things here and there. We had a culvert, crossroad culvert that I was approached about this spring. We were aware of it. It's another example of something that Whitey used to do, where he didn't come along when he did Pleasant Grove Road and buy right away and put new pipes in and everything else. He kind of just shoved corrugated pipes inside of stuff that was there and then buried it under a bunch of dirt, is about what it came down to. So what we find is stuff that's rotted out. And we had a spot up there where there was an erosion hole working its way towards the road fairly quickly on both sides of the road, but the south side was quite a bit worse. And I was aware of this, well, I've been aware of it for a long time. The landowners reached out to me this spring, and we told them it might be 2 or 3 years just financially, because this thing's, well, the outlet part we measured yesterday was right around 22 feet deep. What there is from our records, is there's an old concrete box that at some point, I want to say maybe in the 30s, they came along and extended with another concrete box. And then when the county came along and did the paving project as it sits now, which would have been probably in the late 70s or early 80s, instead of extending it with a concrete box again, or doing something like a full replacement that would live for a long time, Whitey stuck smaller corrugated pipes in both ends, poured them with concrete, and guess what's rotten? 60 foot of old corrugated pipe. So I sicked my guys on it and basically said, I hate to do this. The landowners got a hold of us. They were willing to work with me. We're gonna have to buy right away when it's all said and done, and we know that. I mean, these things aren't on, half of this isn't on the right of way, and unfortunately, that's just the cards were dealt. So we just started digging a hole, and unbeknownst to us, we eventually found a 4-inch Rathman rural water line that rural water didn't realize that we were gonna dig the hole. We called in our locates, it was not a big deal, so we paid rural water to lower their water line. And then we kept on digging. And we finally found the end of the old box culvert that was there. Got down in the creek, took a good look at it with my culvert crew, and it's not new, but it's not shot either. So I reached out to a local, a box culvert contractor, and they are like a lot of contractors right now. They're desperate for work. They're trying not to lay their guys off any earlier than they have to. So for a shade over cost, they're gonna come in and do a box culvert extension. So we're gonna extend that the proper way. In fact, I'm hoping they're starting today or tomorrow. I haven't had you guys out, haven't had a chance. I would like to get you out so you can see it. If we can get our crew moved over to the north side and the weather plays nice and everything else, I'm hoping to do extensions on both sides and just simply button that whole spot up. And that'll be one of those done probably for a fraction of what it would have cost us to tear the whole road out. Probably would have been a $300,000 project or something like that. And I'm hoping we have those extensions done for somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000, and then of course our crew doing all the work for dirt work and everything. So just in case somebody hits you up, because Shane, I know this is if you know where the air shaft is along Pleasant Grove Road for the gypsum plant, it's in that area, but it's between the quarry and Highway 61, so I would call it kind of towards the east end. There's some cones up along the road, and if somebody gets curious and they stop, they're gonna see literally a 22-foot deep hole right back behind the curb because that's how far we had to go to find the box. So, there's a huge pile of dirt. Thank you to landowners for working with us, and, we'll turn around when we're all said and done and get some right-of-way bought off of them and get this culvert onto right-of-way. Get things done properly.
How much time you expecting on this again?
Shoot, we've been, between the raindrops, we've been working on this thing for 2 or 3 weeks. In the middle of that, of course, hitting a 4-inch water line didn't help our cause either. So I don't have a time frame, Shane, I don't have any idea. The guys will keep cranking along, and in the middle of all that, I tore my Moines son in the middle of town, so it's not like we're just sitting there at the moment, so I'm hoping the culvert crew gets in there. They should have that extension done within a couple weeks, I would think, so we'll see if we can get the other end ready and going and all that. Like I said, I might try to get you up there maybe next week or sometime, but I just want to give you a heads up that if you hear about something along Pleasant Grove Road, if people are curious, they can call our office and I can let them know what's going on, but it's kind of an unexpected project. It needed done though. It's not the end of the world, and it's probably as economical as it ever was gonna be to do it right now. So, beyond that, there's a lot of other stuff going on, but I've taken enough of that, so I thought I'd give you the more obviously visual stuff that people might be asking about.
Thank you, Brian. Miss somebody. Okay, correspondence, either of you gentlemen have any correspondence? I have none. We will proceed to discussion and vote. And on a new agenda item, Resolution 2024-49, resolution ordering a recount of votes in the precincts in Des Moines County, which are in the United States Representative District 1. Whereas the Des Moines County Auditor's Office administered the general election of November 5th, 2024, which included precincts in the United States Representative District 1. And whereas, as the Des Moines County Board of Supervisors on November 13th, 2024, canvassed and certified the results of said election per the Code of Iowa. And whereas Christina Bohannon, candidate for the United States Representative District 1, properly filed a request for a recount of votes in the United States Representative District 1 precincts in Des Moines County as prescribed by Code of Iowa 50.48. Therefore, be it resolved by the Des Moines County Board of Supervisors that a recount of said precincts be ordered, and that the county auditor and commissioner of elections be authorized to conduct said recount as prescribed by the Code of Iowa. Hereby resolved by the Board of Supervisors for the Des Moines County the Board of Supervisors for Des Moines County on this 19th day of November, 2024.
Move to approve that resolution. Second.
Sarah?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes.
Do I dare say that this is gonna cost the county taxpayers
I believe it is on your
no
report.
reimbursement on this?
Do we know when this is gonna take place?
I have a meeting at 2 o'clock today with delegates, so no, I don't know yet.
Approximately how much will it cost? Is it your time or?
Yeah, the delegates, we don't pay the delegates, that's from their campaign, but it just depends on how long it's gonna take us and everything, so I don't really wanna say a number yet until I figure out how long it's gonna take, day, 2 days.
So each campaign will send a delegate to witness or to count?
To count.
To count, okay.
And then we have to come up with a third delegate.
Like in-house
Yeah.
or
Don't they have to
in-county?
agree the first
They have to
two?
agree, so that's what, today, that's what we're gonna do at 2 o'clock, is agree on a third delegate.
Okay, all right.
So, then they have to decide whether they wanna do it by hand or with machine.
We have accounts payable claims in the amount of $1,301,080.61.
Motion to approve. Second.
Sarah?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. going to accept a petition to establish an EMS district. Jim, if you'd want to introduce yourself for
Yeah.
the record.
So I'm Jim Haffey, I'm the director of Community Ambulance Service Association for Northern Des Moines County. Most people call us Minneapolis Ambulance, but that's their official name. So, yeah, I have a petition to establish an EMS district in Northern Des Moines County. This would represent Washington Township, Yellow Springs, Huron, Franklin, Benton, and Jackson Townships. And just FYI, in conjunction with this, the city of Minneapolis last night accepted the petition to establish an EMS district for the city of Minneapolis, because we cannot, municipalities and county can't, apparently by law, can't form an EMS district together, so we have two separate districts. So here's our petition. You want it, or? Here you go.
You can. I just give it
Yeah,
to-
so
to
this
Sarah,
is-
you emailed us the information.
Yeah,
about
so,
this.
within that district, I just mentioned with the townships, we have eligible 1,327 property owners. The requirement is we have 25% property owners sign the petition, and they must represent 25% of the property values. So with that, out of 1,327, 441 have signed the petition. That equals a 33.2%, and that also it equals to 36.9% of the property values. So we've exceeded the 25%. In the petition, if you look, we actually went through and validated the names. Those are the check marks are valid ones, the ones that are not, either are renters or they don't own property, they don't count as on the petition. So with that, I think I handed, you guys have on your desk a little bit of the actual code.
Iowa code, yeah.
Iowa code. So this is to me, one of the strangest codes. You guys probably deal with it more than I do. But with that presentation of the petition, we now run into some timeline constraints. We basically have 30 days, according to the code, to have a public hearing. I am requesting we have a public hearing in 14 days. The reason being is because this has to lead up to a special election, which if you look at also Iowa code, we have a couple days we can do special elections. That'll be March 4th. And as you go work your way backwards to this process, once we have a public hearing for an engineer report, which is the second public hearing, you have within 60 days to hold the election. So the petition, I can tell you, went very, very well. Can you imagine going door to door out in the county is a lot different than going door to door out in the city. The city, by the way, passed 39% sign, but again, much easier to gain. With doing that, I said going out and get the petition was very humbling. Really, we did not have any negative feedback. Being that we got positive feedback, even the ones that's like, oh, we're talking about additional tax, we're like, but you know, they remember 20 years ago, the ambulance showed up and they credit us for saving the life of a family member. So constantly getting those stories, like I said, it was very humbling. I think the other thing is what we did for the county is I set up 3 town hall meetings, one in Yarmouth, one in Sperry, and one in Kingston. So by the way, I have appreciation for you politicians now that you just show up and let people fire questions at you. But what was really neat about that, not only did they all show up to sign, they also was so, I guess, impressed or understood the need of the ambulance that they took petitions themselves and actually started a grassroots campaign and went out there and started getting signatures from all their neighbors, which was very beneficial getting these signatures. So went very, very well. So on the back of what I hand you with the code, I kind of put a timeline. This does correspond with the city of Minneapolis, because again, we have these 2 districts going on at the same time. They're like 1 day ahead of you on most of the schedule. So again, ask for a public hearing to go ahead and accept this petition and move forward to creating the district. At that point, we have to have a disinterested engineer, is that the correct word?
I think so.
I think that was the correct word. Actually lay out the plot maps, and look at the assessed values during that process. All that stuff's pretty much, I mean, are township lines of the city of Minneapolis, city limits. But we do still have to have that separate report. We're gonna give them, he liked this when I was talking about how much time, 2 weeks. Again, what we're trying to do right now, I worked with Brian a little bit yesterday, worked with BJ John and the mayor of Mediapolis. We're all looking, right now, trying to find that engineer, where we don't just show up 2 weeks and say, hey, I need this in 2 weeks. Give them a little heads up what we're gonna do. At that point, we have to have another public hearing for those districts. And then once that is accepted, we have to have elections within 60 days. And again, that's the magic date on that's March 4th. So that's why we kinda got this timeline, kind of a strict timeline. The other unusual thing about, the notice of public hearing is we have to have that we have to publish it twice consecutively in the local newspaper that reaches that areas. And the final notice has to be basically outside 7 days, so, just by the normal rotation of public notices, we're not gonna hit that. We'd have to have it today and then a
Oh,
week
I
from
think we're
today.
gonna get it.
All right, you guys figured it out?
We've discussed,
Yeah,
well,
so-
I will touch on that when we get to the public hearing.
Okay, yeah, so he's got it figured out where we can, get it published twice, so that's a little bit different than normal, and that's the same with Mediapolis, because unfortunately, Mediapolis is the obvious paper, but they only do a weekly publication, so that's not gonna work.
Let me ask you something.
Yes.
Possibly for the edification of everyone, including the press. Explain to them what what your goal is, what the intent of this
Yes.
petition and vote, how.
So, the reason we're talking about an EMS district and what basically has changed in Mediapolis. So, the biggest thing, we've really increased our run numbers. We've gone from about, I'm gonna wanna misquote, but I'll say 8 years ago, we were just under 300. This year, we're on pace at 428. So that run number volume increase for volunteers is really, really difficult. And then during the daytime, we actually only have 3 EMTs, they all work at Affinitas. Hawkeye, previously known as Hawkeye, they have always allowed their employees to respond. Well, I'll give you an example, literally yesterday, they had 3 calls yesterday morning, so can you imagine all your employees coming to work and they're always constantly leaving? When they leave, they have to stay late and make up their time, so they're making up time almost every day on that pace, so we cannot sustain that any longer, so what we're looking at is we looked at, can Burlington come up and cover our territory? Burlington says, well, we could do it, but we'd have to add another ambulance, 6 employees, obviously that's very expensive, so that's a very expensive route. Looked at local, hired a private entity to come in, that's even higher, that's very much went off the table right away because of the price. Then Waplo, what Waplo's doing, they actually have 2 people hired. They covered 60 hours a week each. Basically, they have a set amount of tasks they have to do every week, and then they have to cover 60 hours of being on call a week. And if they don't get the rest of the call covered by volunteers, they have to cover that call as well. Incentive to make sure you get everything covered for the ambulance to go out. So what we are looking to do is, when we actually calculate the tax rate we're looking for, I don't want to throw out numbers because papers like to print numbers and I don't know what that number is. Somewhere between 40 and 70 cents on my best guess. Probably 40 to 70 cents. I mean, that's probably the best guess. But anyway, that number will actually represent hiring those 2 people. But our intent is not to hire 2 people right away. Our intent would be to hire 1 person, which means that even though we might pass tax rate higher, we won't max that tax rate out. But if we don't go higher, then we find out we definitely need that 2nd person, then we have to go through this whole process over again. So we wanna go ahead and do that, so we basically gonna set a ceiling on what we can tax. That ceiling based on hiring 2 people, to cover our ambulance calls, something like that.
I'm gonna take a shot at explaining this just a little bit, or maybe a little different way.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. What this does is it creates a district in Des Moines County, and the way they're gonna do it is they're gonna take several townships, the boundaries of those, and they will create an EMS per this Iowa Code 357F. They will join in with Mediapolis, who will create a similar emergency medical district per Iowa Code 357G. One of them's for a city, the other is for townships. So only the people that live in that area are the ones that vote. They pay all the taxes. If you don't live outside of that area, you don't pay those taxes. And they're the ones that vote on it, and they're the ones that sign the petition, so, if you guys, since this is, I don't want Jim to have to sit here all morning while we go through some of this, so if you've got any questions for Jim, you can ask him now, I don't mind, we don't mind.
It's definitely different than what we see the counties around us. Our counties around us have gone to a countywide EMS. We had this discussion 2 years ago, about possibly doing that. Just because of the makeup of our county, the city of Burlington being so populated, and really the need right now is that northern part, those volunteers that can't sustain. There's some big advantages to having an EMS district. Probably the biggest advantage, all money, like you just said, all taxes raised in that district, go to that district. Versus the countywide, they're gonna go to the county. The county has a board that determines how that money gets divided up.
You'll have a board of trustees or.
Correct.
just
Yes, we'll
for
have a
that
board of
district.
trustees just for those two districts. Right now, how we work on a 20A agreement with the city of Mediapolis and all those townships. They all have one representative, that's the board right now that runs the Mediapolis. So in reality, behind what people will see is probably no different. What amounts to is we'll have a 2080 between the two EMS districts once they're established, with the board set up for the EMS districts, and then again, go the same way. But it's just a different way of doing it, but it allows us to have some taxation. And I've always said, it's probably one of the proudest things. I've been service director since 2005, and I'm the only service director I've ever met in the state of Iowa that has never taken any tax money to run our ambulance service. That is crazy. They look at me like, you gotta be kidding me, like, we've never taken any taxation to run a Mediapolis ambulance, so then I explained that to the taxpayers, cause like, you're talking about paying a tax, like, well, guess what? This is the first time you've ever had to do it, this is unusual, so, but no, we had great feedback from our citizens up there, so.
So what was that tax rate again? What's the range? I
The
mean, you gotta
range?
give me something that's in code, what's the range?
Well, I think we can go up to $1 in code, but it will not be that high. I can tell you, we're looking at, $170,000 to $200,000, looking at those assessed values, and that's how that range will be. No, we cannot tax agricultural land with an EMS district as well, which is different. So, we'll look at those assessed values, taxable, property values, and then base that rate off of that.
Could you tell me again what townships are included?
Sure, Washington, Yellow Springs, Huron, Franklin, Benton, and Jackson.
Do you have your public notice all prepared?
I think you did.
We're gonna have, we've got you mean for the election?
Or do
You want
you want the
me to
petition?
publish for
We have, the one, we have that
Okay.
in
I thought we were still
the
waiting
packet.
I
That's
thought we were
what-
still waiting on the language on that.
Okay, yeah, okay,
No, that's setting the time and date. The actual publication that we'll have sent to the newspapers with the language in it.
we've got, this one, when BJ sent it out for the city, this
Yeah,
was
I
adopted
say I have
for
the
the county.
city one, and I have the county.
So, this one was adapted from that for the county, so, essentially, take a look at it, I think that's what you can publish.
Okay, just publish
I
the
think
same
that's
thing.
what you
Okay.
can publish, I don't think you need to publish anything else.
Okay.
And if you look at this, and I can't find it, now I think it says somewhere in this that there's a maximum $1 levy, but I can't find it right now.
Yeah, I don't think it's in that code, but I thought the other countywide is a maximum $1. It will not be that.
So
Okay.
is that what you have in special elections, back to back, on the 14th
It'll all be
and
the
on
same
5th?
day.
They'll be all on the same day?
There's only one day for special elections in March, first Tuesday.
And you need to talk to Sarah, probably not today or tomorrow. But an
I won't talk to her today, she'll make you the third delegate.
The code says that election doesn't need to be done by the commissioner of elections, so, and essentially it's gonna be yes/no election. So you could set that up yourself, the townships do that, so But if you talk to Sarah, she can give you some of the time limits on whether you'd want her to be part of that or not. But if you give Sarah a call, what, later this week?
Yep.
Okay.
Send me an email, give me a call, whenever. I'll get back with you. I'll talk with you.
Thank you, Jim.
I have a couple other special elections on the 4th, so
Awesome.
we'll have it ready.
Jim, I'll
Yes.
tell you, I grew up in Mediapolis, and Keith Fry is the undertaker there, and he was the EMT,
We should stamp those
he was on
receipts.
24-hour call.
Do you want me to stamp
Yep.
receipts?
I,
How many
uh,
should I
And
stamp?
he-
There's a ton.
The
I have a stamp
ambulance
on
Just
that
it.
they hauled you out to the cemetery is the
I think
same
you
one
can
that
drop
they
those off.
picked you up.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep, that was back before, the townships took
Yeah.
over, yeah.
Yeah.
So, that was very popular back then when the EMS started coming around, they'd use the local hearse
Yeah.
to use as their ambulance, so. Conflict of interest, what I call it. So,
Thank you, Jim. Your petition has been accepted, and we're about to set a date for a public hearing.
I'm gonna bail, cause I have a meeting at 10 o'clock, so.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We have a resolution 2024-47, setting the time and date of a public hearing on the establishment of an EMS district.
Do we have to make a motion to accept that petition?
No, he could have turned that in actually at the auditor's office. We just, I think he was anxious to get it down here as soon as he had them all assembled, because he does have a tight timeline. So we have a resolution 2024-47, whereas the Des Moines County Board of Supervisors has been presented a petition meeting the requirements of Iowa Code Section 357F.2, requesting the creation of an emergency medical services district as defined in Iowa Code Section 357F.1. Now therefore be it resolved that the Des Moines County Board of Supervisors shall conduct a public hearing pursuant to Iowa Code Section 357F2 and 357F4 on the issue of whether to establish an emergency medical services district on December 3rd, 2024 at 9 a.m. in the boardroom of the Des Moines County Courthouse. Approved this 19th day of December 2024.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Sarah?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yeah.
Tom Broker.
Yes.
I went to the fireman's pancake sausage dinner up there.
Mm.
I got hit up 3 times to sign a petition. I live in Danville, you know, but they did a good job of getting that done there too.
Okay, we have resolution 2024-48, appointing a Des Moines County deputy medical examiner. We already have a medical examiner. A deputy medical examiner is wonderful, so if the medical examiner, the current is a surgeon, so if she would have a patient that would need that, there wouldn't be a conflict of interest. If there was a death concerning that, there would be a deputy medical examiner. Or if she's out of town, then the deputy medical, the deputy medical examiner we're going to appoint right now will be the medical examiner for Henry County and also the deputy medical examiner from Lee County. So, resolution 2024-48, appointing a Des Moines County deputy medical examiner. Whereas a county medical examiner shall be appointed by the Des Moines County Board of Supervisors for a 2-year term pursuant to Code of Iowa Section 331.801, Paragraph 1. And whereas Dr. Rose Shabillion has agreed to serve as Deputy County Medical Examiner for Des Moines County pursuant to an approved contract agreement between Des Moines County and Dr. Shabillion for Deputy County Medical Service Examiner, Medical Examiner Services. And therefore be it resolved that effective November 19th, 2024, Dr. Shabillion is and shall be appointed to serve and act as Deputy Medical Examiner for Des Moines County and shall have all powers, rights, and duties and accordance with the Code of Iowa, Chapter 331, and otherwise as provided by law. Be it further resolved that Dr. Shabillian shall serve until June 30th, 2025, which shall automatically renew for another 2-year life term without further resolution unless or until this appointment is terminated in writing. Approved and adopted this 19th day of November 2024.
Move to approve resolution 2024-48.
Second that.
Sarah?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yep.
Tom Broker.
Yes.
Did you spell that last name?
SCHABILION.
Thank you.
That wasn't one of my stronger subjects either.
That was close.
Okay, and we have a liquor license for the Tipsy Travelers. Uh, 1413 Irish Ridge Road. I suspect the sheriff has no problems with this at all.
It's been through the ABD and everything looks to be in line.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Sheriff, Sarah?
Shane McCampbell,
Yep.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Thank you, Sheriff.
Mhm.
I like that name, Tipsy Traveler.
Catchy, right?
Now on to the part of the agenda you've all been waiting for, the approval of the weed commissioners.
We're so
report.
progressive. We have a weed commissioner?
So I'm pretty sure this is Brian.
We're cutting edge that way.
Shane, that's ragweed.
Tell him to drink the Jim.
Don't rain on his parade
Do you
yet.
want us to get the podium for you?
I'm good, thank you. I'll give my same spiel as every year. I believe this is a state mandated report that I have absolutely nothing to do with. I'm here because my weed commissioner is also, or the county weed commissioner is also our road superintendent, so he's doing his job. He submits these, I bring them down, and he actually is technically the weed commissioner on behalf of the board, because the code actually calls out the board as being responsible for noxious weeds and the weed commissioner. So it's not a particularly full-time gig by any means. He deals with, most of the time, honestly, it's a landowner that's not happy with a neighbor. If anything comes up at all, it's frequently somebody that's mad at their neighbor, so they'll send a letter about thistles or something like that. Most of the time we reach out to somebody and say you need to mow those off or something like that, but it's not a really big gig by any means, but these are, I believe there's 2 documents. I think there's a report and then a certificate. I don't even have copies of them, and they're in front of you, and I would recommend approval, and we'll get them sent off to the state.
Move to approve the weed commissioner.
I'll second that, James.
Sarah?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
I always love to vote on this every year. Anyways, yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes.
Glad we can provide some levity for you.
The first time that came up when I was down there, I said, well, that's really interesting. We have a commissioner over weed.
Didn't see that one coming, did you?
No, I didn't.
I bet the city didn't have that.
No, we didn't have a weed commissioner.
Actually, and now we have the weed commissioner's certificate to be approved.
I move to approve the certificate for the weed commissioner.
Second?
Sarah?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes.
Got that certificate to be the commissioner.
This is.
Yeah, this isn't a paid gig, I can tell you that.
Looking back, maybe a dozen years, we this ended up in secondary roads with Brian,
Yeah.
when we had serious budget issues. Mr. Carter volunteered or offered to take that part of the budget and incorporated it in secondary roads.
I think we were on the borderline broke, and I think it was that, or we had to cut 2 employees, and we found a place for them in the road department. One of the reasons it is a fairly quiet, it's not quiet everywhere. There are counties where this can actually get fairly busy. We have a very proactive, and have for a long time, a proactive roadside spraying program. So we keep our ditches awfully darn clean as far as, I'm not gonna tell you it's weed-free as far as thistles and such when we're talking about that kind of stuff, but we do, this was an odd year because we had some medical issues in our shop that prevented that from happening, but we normally spray every mile of roadside every year. And that goes a long ways towards remedying this kind of an issue, because it's not out there in the right of way for everybody to stare at and get irritated about and everything else, so. And actually, even though it's not part of his job as the weed commissioner, he oversees that spray program to do that, so that helps that cause quite a bit.
Yeah.
And just as a reminder, and part of that, the board actually covers the cost of that chemical every year as part of kind of your obligation to meet that code of saying the board's responsible for some of that. That was kind of the middle ground as part of the agreement we came to years ago when we saved some of those personnel from layoffs. So,
Yep, thank you again, and Mr. Carter made you guys' life easier with that
I don't know about that.
offer. We have a personnel action for the correctional center. We have Austin Dunham, correctional officer, a resignation effective November 13th, 2024.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Sarah?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yep.
We wish Austin the best. He gave us about 6 weeks heads up, so it gave us time to
Oh, really?
transition to get him replaced, and just was looking for something different, so.
That was
we
thoughtful.
understand and appreciate his time.
Is that Nathan's?
No.
That works better than a go to hell if the door slams.
Yes, it does.
Okay, we have reports. We have a clerk's report of fees collected for October 2024. This report will be on file at the auditor's office and available for public review at your convenience. Finally, we have minutes for the regular meeting of November 13th, 2024.
Move approved.
Second.
Sarah?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Any other business?
I know.
Future agenda items. We should probably put a work session on for the comp board.
Or next week.
Next, yeah. Committee reports.
I had none.
I attended the Mental Health Agency of Southeast Iowa Governing Board. We approved a contract with First Resources and the Mahasi Annual Report for fiscal year 2024. And I didn't bring it up, or not, and I said I would, the timeline on that petition. I suppose in the thought that, you know, rather to get chewed out later than somebody tell you can't do it. The code is not particularly clear on this, but he's got a very tight timeline. So there's not time to put it in twice in 2 county newspapers. So we have to put it in twice in the Burlington Hawkeye. It'll have to go in if we can get it in tomorrow or Thursday, and then next Tuesday to meet that. So when our auditor comes, they may look at that and said, you didn't send out the right. So anyway, so if anybody gets written up, make sure you list that Tom said that.
Tom said
But
so.
anyway, that was the timing I mentioned.
My understanding about public hearings is there's a difference between a board adopted publication of record and in a generally circulated publication in the community, so you should be covered.
It says generally accepted
Right.
publication, so I.
Even if Minneapolis uses the Minneapolis News as their
So we're,
publication of record.
we're hopeful that you're right.
think
Anyway,
you
that's,
can.
that's,
You'll be all right.
that's the way we're gonna bet.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's what that was all about. So anyway, so if you see if you can get the Hawkeye printed on those 2 days, so.
I will do everything I can
Yeah.
do, which is nothing.
Atta girl.
Way to go, Tracy.
Okay. Any other committee reports? Okay. Public input. If anybody from the public would like to address the board, you can email the Board of Supervisors at board@dmcounty.com. That's board, board@dmcounty.com. You can call 319-753-8203 extension 4. That's 319-753-8203 extension 4. We'll give you a couple minutes to initiate that email or that call. In the meantime, does anybody in attendance have any comments? If you'd give us your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Michael L. Job, 2006 Isabella, Burlington, Iowa. And I have a complaint against a guy out at Southeastern Iowa Regional Planning Committee. Let me give you a little bit of input of what I've done. I grew up in Illinois. I grew up in a fabrication shop. My dad worked for the Corps of Engineers. So I'm used to work. I work on your Great River Bridge. I helped demo your own MacArthur Bridge. I worked on your railroad bridge, and I worked on about every metal building in town here, including your county jail and the jail out in Fort Madison. That being said, after years of physical activity, I've had 13 orthopedic surgeries, both hips replaced, back fusion, and I can no longer work. So I had to apply for Social Security disability. I didn't make my ironworkers pension, which was union. So I got into a grant with the Southeastern Iowa Regional Planning Committee to help update my house. Windows, doors, some woodwork around the bottom of my baseboards on the outside of the house. Mike Norris hired a company called Red Rock True Consulting. I was their first job, and I believe I was their last job. These guys put in windows in my house, and I've done construction in between. Iron workers are seasonal, just like this guy talked about with the city. When I was laid off, I would work with Tom Goebel, who was an OCD perfectionist. So I know carpentry as well as ironwork. So I fought with these guys the whole time as I'm watching them as I tinker in my garage, shoving holes or shoving windows into holes that are unsquared, just forcing them in. Not putting flashing on the bottom boards that go around my house, and there's a code for flashing. So as I watched all this, I'm stewing, and I had a few arguments with these guys about, hey, that's not the proper way to do this. You can't put that window in without sealing it. You can't put the boards on without sealing it and foaming it. Well, we was gonna seal the outside. I said, there's more to a window than that. That being said, I called Mike Norris when the job was done, and I complained about the baseboard at the time. That was my main complaint, because I knew it would leak. Mike comes out, gets the two contractors there, and we have a meeting, and it comes about that I say, Mike, you know that's not done by code. There's a flashing code for anything that's added on to a house on an existing structure. He goes, yeah, that's true. He goes, but the job's already done. What are we gonna do? And I said, make them take it off and do it right. I said, that's the way you do things. And he goes, well, I'm not gonna do that. And I said, Mike, that's the only right way to do it to guarantee it not to leak. Anyway, he goes, well, how about we put a bead of caulking all the way around your house? And I said, you want me to let these cobblers cobble my house some more? I said, okay, whatever. Anyway, I said, Mike, that's not even code. I said, you shouldn't be asking me to do that. So we separated, and the next day the guys come back and I said, listen, pack your stuff up. I'm not gonna let you cobble my house anymore. So I called the city, and I asked for the city inspector, and I think at the time his name was Adam. And I said, Adam, I need the code for flashing on a building here in Des Moines County. And he says to me, out of the blue, is this dealing with Southeastern Iowa Regional Planning Committee? And I sat there for a minute and I said, yeah, how do you know that? And he goes, Mike, I'm not gonna get involved. I said, Adam, I'm not asking you to get involved, I'm asking you for the code. He goes, I'm not getting involved. I said, Adam, do your job. He goes, if you're gonna talk to me like that, I'm gonna hang up. Well, he hung up on me. So I called the Keokuk City Hall, who runs the same code that you guys do. And a lady up there gave me the code. And I told her what he did, and she says, really, he wouldn't give you the code, that's his job. I said, that's exactly my point. That being said, Mike Norris got offended at me because I basically put him in his place. You should be doing this the proper way, not cobbling my house, and has refused to answer my calls. As a matter of fact, it got so bad that if I called out there to Sarah, which is one of the managers out there that got everything going, if I used my regular number, she wouldn't answer. If I blocked my number, she answered. So they were instructed to screen my calls, which is very unprofessional. So it's left me with not many alternatives. So I started tagging Shane McCampbell. I started tagging Jim Carey, although he's not on my friend request, and I started tagging the mayor in posts about my house. Well, the mayor's been a little upset with me. And I've apologized to him. I said, listen, I'm forced to do what I have to do. I said, I have an attorney if I need one. I said, but the fact that I have to have an attorney is just about as disturbing as the fact of what Mike Norris has done in my house. So that being said, now as the heat has hit these windows that were forced into unsquare holes, I got rain running in my house. I put a video on Facebook. Jim's seen it, Shane's seen it, and the whole town of Burlington's seen it. I have a lot of friends. And I mean, it's pouring in. So that means every window that was done by these contractors is potentially leaky. And you know what happens when things leak? Black mold gets in there and it just deteriorates everything. So now on top of that, I'm trying to contact Mike Norris. He won't answer. I get a letter in the mail from an attorney, and it was basically a gag order because it wasn't bound through the courts, it wasn't signed by a judge, and it was telling me to stop contacting his supervisors. So I called Governor Kim Reynolds' office. She gives me all of Mike Norris's money people. Brian Sullivan, Brian Sullivan's boss, Brian Sullivan's partner, they are the state and federal people that supply the money for Southeastern Iowa Regional Planning Committee. Brian Sullivan says, Mr. Job, he says, I don't like what's going on here. He goes, but I have no control over what he's doing. He goes, I hear you loud and clear. He goes, things should be done properly. So I keep contacting Brian Sullivan as I'm trying to contact him because Brian told me to work it out with Mike Norris. Mike Norris just plain out refuses to deal with me. He tells people I'm difficult to work with. That's only because I know what is right and what is wrong. And Mike Norris tried to cobble my house, and he did let them get away to cobble my house. So now here we go. These boards that they replaced on the bottom of my house. Everybody in here that done construction knows everything has to be flashed. You got a piece of siding, it has to lap over the other piece so rain runs off. It stair steps down and it doesn't seep into your house. There's no flashing on this. This PVC board they put around my house wasn't designed for that, and I know this because I called the manufacturer. I have literature. The PVC board has a problem. It contracts and expands way too much for decorative stuff on a house. So right now, it's probably 60 degrees today. All the butt joints on this PVC board are probably a 1/4 inch. When it gets 30 below, they're 3/4 of an inch. When it gets hot, they're butted up touching. The problem with the PVC board, according to the manufacturers, is the contraction expansion. They have a special guideline for applications. 3 screws per wall stud. That means every 16 inches it gets 3 screws. On the bottom baseboard all the way around your house, it's 10 inches minimum. There's not one. This board is bowing from my house. I've killed 24 mice. I tagged Mike and Shane and Jim and every one of them, trying to let people know. 24 mice in 6 months. I'm hearing these things in my walls while I'm sleeping. I'm hearing my mouse traps go off at night. I have 4 mouse traps. I had to call Bob, and Bob come out and set traps at my house. He goes, Mike, you got a problem. Bob even wrote me a statement saying this board was improperly installed. It's more than improperly, it's just overwhelming how bad they did it. So wall studs were skipped, the boards are bowing out with no flashing, no nothing, water's running in my walls, in my floorboards, soaking my carpet. I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I'm irritated, I'm tired of fighting Mike Norris, and I'm looking for some help. Mike Norris has way too much power for what he's doing. There should be some guidelines, and I know Jim Carey has looked at my house, and I don't think he approves of it. I don't think Shane approves of what's done. It's not done right, and I'm looking for some help to get something done. Yes, I have an attorney. Yes, he is willing to take my case, but do I really have to go here? That's not what I'm after.
Is your house in the city of Burlington?
It is, and I invite anybody to come look at it. I have pictures, the paper came and took pictures. Even the paper guy says, this isn't right. He goes, what's Mike Norris thinking? I said, well, that's my whole problem. I don't know what he's thinking. He neglects to even talk to me. The one thing that gets me more than anything is the gag order. Now he's using that with Brian Sullivan, his money guy. So Brian Sullivan's saying, Michael, I'm told there's a gag or there's a no contact order. I said, well, is that what you call that? Is a no contact order? I said, I've had no contact orders. I said, they get served by sheriffs. And I said, they are legal documents. I said, this was a gag order to scare me and shut me up. I said, Brian, it's not gonna shut me up. I said, right is right, wrong is wrong. And I said, I'm looking to get my house fixed. I went to the city council meeting last night, and I must say there's a lot more going on here, definitely. But I'm looking for some help. I don't know where to go anymore. Yeah, I can get my attorney. Yeah, we can fight this out in court, but is that what I really have to do? Anyhow, that's all I have to say. I'm looking for some help. Anybody's invited to my house at any time to look at this stuff. It's common sense. It's falling off. The boards are warping on the bottom because not one screw. The newspaper took a picture of my hand up under that board, touching my insulation. That's how bad this has become. The boards are warped from the sun. And I got nowhere else to go. My house is being ruined. I don't have a retirement because I didn't make my union disability. I want to leave this house to my kids. What am I going to leave my house to my kids? A pile of junk if I don't get this fixed. I was going to apply for the paint-a-thon. I can't even do that because nothing's right. They'll have to tear it all back out. Yeah, I'm low income now, but I worked all my life. I've never had a vacation in my life, and I think I deserve a lot more respect than what Mike Norris has given me. That's all I have to say. And if anybody wants to look at anything I have, I'm more than open for anybody to come and check it out. As I said, Jim and Shane have already looked it over. I have 2 contractors. I have statements. I have bids. I've done everything I can. I contacted the window manufacturer who had me download a program so I could walk around my windows and she could see everything I see. And she said, improperly installation. She goes, look at the gaps on your windows. Well, that's when I started noticing, yeah. There's gaps at the bottom, and then the window frame comes over the window, or the wood frame comes over the window frame. And it's just, everything's out of square. I got 2 windows that won't shut, 3 windows that won't lock. They set my back door so low, they never even put it back in the same spot. They set it so low in the first week, the door trim drug my carpet when you come into my house. I called them and I said, hey, you guys gotta come back over and raise this door up. I said, it's already tore the trim off the bottom of the door. So I come home one night, I have groceries in my hand. That door trim had ripped my carpet up. I tripped on that carpet and landed down my basement. Now keep in mind, I have 2 fake hips and a back fusion. I had to go have an MRI, I had to have x-rays, I had to have scans because I had pinched nerves in my back. This isn't even funny anymore. I'm really irritated beyond the point I can even describe what's going on.
What question?
Yes, sir.
So this was a grant, or maybe that housing
Yes.
trust or something, we give money to, everyone gives money to the Southeast Iowa Regional Planning.
Yes.
And they apply for grants.
Yes.
So this was done under that program.
Yes. Yes.
Are you on the Southeast Iowa Regional Planning Board? Have you been to one of those board meetings?
Mike Norris is cutting me out of it. I was instructed to go to that, to contact Mike Norris's secretary, Shirley, I believe, and she refuses to return my calls. Mike Norris has his hands on everybody's phone. Yeah, I've been shut down, and I'm tired of it, with all due respect. So that's where I'm at, and yes, and they spent, I think the bid was $15,000 at the time of putting the windows and stuff in. And like I said, they shoved them in so hard out of unsquare frames that the screens are bowed out. The bugs are coming under my screens. I have pictures and videos of 30 flies in my windows, and if my windows had been open, they'd have been in my house, but they were between the screen and the window. This is totally unacceptable in any standard.
That's a terrible story. The board, I mean, if they talk about this or what?
They haven't brought it to the full board, no.
That's all I have. I'm
Is
looking for help.
the board interested in at least hearing Mr. Joe Bauer?
Well, I went back and talked to him, you know, when I looked at your house.
Right.
And I told him what I thought, and that's as far as it's gone with the board.
Okay.
With their board, not our board.
Sure. It's gotten worse.
Yeah.
A lot worse. The boards are just, they're gonna fall off my house.
And he's right, that bottom part around there, it was good quarter of an inch. They used a vinyl type stuff going around there, and he put his hand under there and you could feel the insulation. So a lot of that stuff I've seen.
Yeah. And I appreciate you and Shane checking it out, because Mike Norris isn't doing his job.
I'll say this, man, Mike, you're hard to deal with.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put it out there in the public, you're hard to deal with, but I've been hard to deal with sometimes too, that's irrelevant. I feel like we should be taking care of business and handling things the way it's supposed to be handled. I still don't understand how it got to this point, I really don't.
Yeah.
But, no, I don't feel like the contractor was the best, I'll leave it at that.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, I think I was their first job, and I think I was their last job is with Sierra. I think her name is Sarah. I think that's what she told me. They weren't working for them anymore because they had enough with my house. With that being said, I need some help with something. I really don't want to take it to an attorney. If I got to, I got to. But I was hoping that somehow somebody could force Mike Norris to.
This strikes me as something that should be brought to the board if it was under that grant that did the work, and they made it worse, or
Made it worse.
That's I would think that's something the board ought to hear.
I have a friend that works for 4 Seasons, and I work on his side-by-side. He goes, Mike, I know why your windows are leaking. I said, why? He goes, there's no drip lip on there. And I look at it and I'm like, you're right. I forgot about it because carpentry isn't my expertise. Ironworker was. And I'm looking, I'm like, you're right. It's just a board up there with caulking. So when the rain comes down, it hits the caulking, and wherever the caulking isn't sealed, water seeps in. The water wasn't coming through the window. The water was coming around the window, which means it's the insulation problem.
You're in the city of Burlington.
I am.
So we don't really have anything to do with that, I guess.
I know that.
The only thing we do is we are members, you know, and funders of Southeast Iowa Regional Planning. If you would maybe suggest to the board that the Board of Supervisors, you know, really thinks that they ought to invite him, Mr. Joe, to your to a meeting, and
after I went out to Mike's house, then I went and talked to Mike. And Mike this been what, 6 weeks ago, something like that?
Did you
Mike?
were at my house?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
And where Mike, the other one, not this Mike, out
Mike
there.
Norris.
Mike Norris said that Mike Job had signed off on it, and that was the end of it.
Mike Norris worked for the board.
Yeah, he is the head of it.
I mean, he works at the pleasure of the board, of the Southeast Iowa Regional Planning Board of Directors, or?
Yeah.
I would assume.
But again, my only deal is they've never had Mike have an opportunity to express this to the entire board.
That's what
And
I'm
I
saying.
feel like that's what they need to do that. They need to do that.
Mike can't say what the board's gonna do or not do.
And I did sign off on that. I signed off that the job was done. I didn't know how cobbled the job was. And it was just a week after the inspector was there that we started noticing things weren't cocked. I mean, what the inspector did for Mike Norris, he did nothing except for, hey, what did you have for supper last night? Yeah, let's have a good night. That's not an inspection, because I'm thinking, as I know this board is not even flashed, I'm thinking the inspector's gonna nail these guys. Nah, he didn't nail him. That inspector didn't do his job either, and I don't wanna start discrediting people.
And I appreciate you coming here, and, and there's always two sides to every story, but he should get a chance to present his side, I think, to that board, and just, if Mike doesn't want him there, that's, if,
I'll be respectful.
Yep, but anyway, so that's, is he, let him sort it out, and,
That's why I told you that John Billups is on that board, that's why, when I
Yep.
talked to you, that's why I told you to get ahold of John too.
Yep, and John and me have been talking back and forth. But I tagged John and Shane in every mouse I've caught, which is 24 now, I think.
But you said a while ago that John's a little upset with you now.
He is.
I'm not upset with you, just so you know. Dude,
I
you tag me all the
appreciate that.
time, man. I'm not mad at you, Mikey.
No,
But you still
I-
need
I-
your
I get
day
your-
before the board. I
Yeah.
feel like that.
Yeah.
I get your pictures and that too, so
Okay.
I'm not upset.
ask the board, tell them that the board of supervisors that you represent would like him to have his appearance before the board.
I mean, I've got 3 other contractors that are all like, this is all wrong.
But-
So how
no,
can Mike Norris even
you-
say?
And I understand that, and you're.
Okay.
Those things are, there's a lot of them. What I think, well, I'm hearing here is if you guys agree that I think he should get a chance to
Yeah.
appear before the board. And Jim, if you
agree.
wanna tell that board, say, the board of supervisors thinks Mr. Joe should have an opportunity to appear before the full board and, hear both sides of this story.
I would appreciate that. Definitely.
Well, I wish you luck.
Thank you.
Keep your head up, man.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Who's the chair of Regional Planning's board right now? Is it still
Rich
Rich?
Snyderman,
Rich Fleischman?
Iceman, Snyder, Mount Pleasant, yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, no other comments with an aye, we're adjourned. Aye. We're adjourned.
Dude, I know you're getting stuff, man. You did it
Oh,
like
I
a pro.
Somebody-